Welcome to Black Bear News, where we are discussing abrupt climate change, environmental breakdown, collapse of an ecosystem, collapse of a biosphere, and all those lovely things. It's tough news, you know, it's tough to keep following this, and I'm sure it's tough to keep listening to this and keep seeing all the evidence that seems to be staring everyone in the face. And you know, so I present this, you know, I present this evidence in this news in order to educate, in order to warn, and in order to enlighten. This is not me, you know, I'm not somebody who's really into the idea of gloom and doom or the world ending, or, you know, scaring everybody into panic or scaring everybody into depression. That's just not, that's not what I'm into, man, you know. But it is what it is, you know, it's real, it's happening, and it's unfortunate. And I'm really trying to just present evidence, and so that people can make an educated decisions about how to proceed with their life, or proceed in their daily lives, in their family lives, in their work lives, in their spiritual lives. There's a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of people avoiding the work. There's a lot of people who are too complacent, or possibly too afraid, or possibly resistant to the news because it entails work. You know, if you're here, you're doing the work, and I appreciate y'all being here. To my viewers that are who are following me and who keep on coming back, thank you. If you are wondering why I said Black Bear News, it's because I'm switching over to a new channel called Black Bear News. If you haven't already gone there yet, for those who have subscribed to the new channel, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just going to continue rolling on with articles and news and evidence, and hopefully some interesting interviews with some other folks coming up. I have probably going to give it a week, maybe 2 weeks before I stop broadcasting on the Red Llama Music channel. So if you haven't gone over to Black Bear News, there's a link below in the description box. Please go over there and subscribe, and you will see the same video over there if you're not already over there. On with the news. I believe Joshua sent this to me. This is from People's World, February 26th. Scientists stunned by off-the-charts Arctic temperatures, record low sea ice. And this is the big news right now, and it absolutely should be. It should be all over the all over the TV right now. All over, you know, there's a meteor streaming, heading towards Earth at thousands of miles an hour, and it's not very far away. And the mainstream news, or you know, all the TV channels just don't seem to want to cover that that meteor heading towards us. But it's happening. Over the past few days, many climate scientists took to social media to express dismay over the Arctic's unseasonably warm temperatures and its record low sea ice. At the height of winter, the region is clocking temperatures normally seen in May. The northernmost permanent weather station in the world, just 440 miles from the North Pole, has warmed to 43 Fahrenheit today, in the middle of months-long darkness during what is normally the coldest time of the year. This is simply shocking. I don't have the words, Eric Holthouse tweeted. On Saturday, just how hot is the Arctic now? Peter Glick, the president emeritus of the Pacific Institute and a member of the U.S. National Academy of Science, tweeted, "Hotter than ever measured in the winter. Human-caused climate change is beginning to radically transform our planet." Climate scientist Zach Labe, researcher at the University of California at Irvine, shared several striking graphs of the Arctic's record-breaking heat. This is kind of basically the same article I just read the other night. So it's ongoing, it's continuing. I'm not going to read much more of this, but I will link it below if you want to check it out. This is absolutely huge news, though. There was something else. This has to do with the same story from the Siberian Times, 21st of November. Oh, this is old. This is an old article. Why am I reading this? Somebody sent this to me. Am I wrong? So the date says 2016, but whatever, applicable to today, I'm sure. The concept of the Arctic district of, so let me go back and read the headline. No global warming in Siberia, Donald Trump. The Arctic district of Verkhoyansk. I don't understand. Maybe they have the date wrong, because this doesn't make any sense for it to be, I don't know. Maybe this is really from 2016. The Arctic district of Verkhoyansk, one of the coldest inhabited places in the world, recorded a temperature of 19.2 C on the 18th of November, some 19 C above average. The district is Yakutia, also known as the Sakha Republic, and parts of the Arctic north of this region. Temperatures are even more surprising. In the village of Olenek on the same day, weathermen recorded minus 5.1 C, a record warm. In the remote part of Tiksi, it was only minus 3 C. In Chukotka, on the Arctic shore, a November record was registered of a remarkable 4 C, the daily average of 20 C milder than usual. So if this really is from a year and a half ago, or a winter ago, this is ongoing, continuing to happen in the winters now that the Arctic is way warmer than it's supposed to be. Sea ice is melting. The sea ice is retreating in the winter when it should be growing. I'll link this below. Let us move on. This is from a site called Futurism. Did Jeff send me this? I'm not sure. Bad news, the Amazon might be past the point of saving. The world's forests are shrinking. For years, they've withstood a multitude of human impact. But according to a new study published in the journal Science Advances, they may be reaching a crisis point. If deforestation goes beyond 20% of its original spread, the Amazon rainforest will have reached the point of no return. In the study, Thomas Lovejoy and Carlos Nobre set out to concretely establish that tipping point, as well as concretely identify what must take place for it to be reached. Essentially, they wanted to know how far deforestation could progress before the rainforest water cycle would cease to support the ecosystems within it. If the climate changes by deforestation or global warming, there's a risk that more than 50% of the Amazon forest may become a degraded savanna, Nobre told Euronews, emphasizing that in the last 50 years, deforestation has made its way to about 17% of the Amazon's vegetation. By their estimates, it would take an additional 3% to render the rainforest unsalvageable. Yes. While the deforestation poses an imminent and severe risk to the rainforest, it is not the only threat to those ecosystems. Climate change and the use of fire also play a major role in the region's ongoing ruin. In addition to its potentially decimating what's left of the rainforest and the wildlife that inhabit it, the degradation of the water cycle would also have a severe impact on South America's human population. Despite this grim prediction, we have not yet reached the point where there is no turning back. The Amazon rainforest may be close to the point of no return, but it has not yet passed it. The right kind of human intervention could help steer the forest away from imminent doom. But in the light of the destruction that's already been done and the speed of its continuation, putting a stop to it won't be easy. Or possible. Possibly not possible. An article having to do with Cape Town running out of water. I was just talking to somebody who was traveling to Cape Town a couple days ago. He was telling me that they had pushed the deadline to turn off the taps back to June. I don't know if that's true or not. Living 24 hours with day zero water rations. This is from CNN, February 22nd. It's a frustrating feeling to wake up and realize that you don't have running water. Just like any other morning, I turned the handles of my bathroom sink faucet, expecting ice cold H2O to flow freely into my cup. But this day, nothing came out. Our taps had gone dry. It's not because of some unforeseen circumstance. Instead, my family and I had chosen to turn off the water supply to our home for 24 hours. We restricted ourselves to just 25 liters, 6.6 gallons per person in solidarity with the people of Cape Town, South Africa, who are facing unprecedented water restrictions because of drought. Cape Town's struggle hits close to home for us. My wife and I met there. She was born and raised there, and I lived there for nearly a decade, working as a television meteorologist before moving to Atlanta to work for CNN. Our 24 hours with rationed water was set up to represent day zero, the day when Cape Town's taps are expected to shut off, not because they chose to, like us, but because there will be no more water in the reservoir. 4 million Cape Town residents will be forced to wait in line at emergency allocation points throughout the city. Each person will be allotted 25 liters per day. What I can attest to is this. 25 liters is not very much. By comparison, the average American uses between 300 and 375 liters, 80 to 100 gallons per day, according to the United States Geological Survey. That is ridiculous. That is amazing if you think about that. One person, 80 to 100 gallons per day. That's insane. This could be the first time in modern history that a major metropolitan city is forced to turn off water to conserve the last drops and stave off disaster. Thanks to the people who are now conserving water, day zero is slowly getting pushed further back. And there is the hope that this will be one of the city's finest moments, preventing a humanitarian crisis. In our experience, there seems to be no way that a city could go on with only 25 liters a day per person. For our family of 3, we have an 11-month-old daughter and another baby on the way. Restricting our water usage quickly tested our patience. Mine especially, as my wife Tara denied me extra water for my typical 2nd, 3rd, and 4th cups of coffee. It's going to have to come out of your drinking water ration if you want it, she said. Denying me an extra cup of coffee first thing in the morning is like depriving a young child of his toys. I use coffee as a frivolous example, but of course, we had to take more extreme measures to abide by the strict water restrictions that Cape Town faces. The commodity that we had taken for granted was no longer freely available, and we needed to adapt. No one told me I had to use Maya's dirty bath water. This new experience really began to hit home when we stared at the 21-gallon jugs, roughly 75 liters for a family of 3, sitting on our dining room table. We needed to bathe, flush our toilets, brush our teeth, do laundry, cook food, stay hydrated, and feed our pets with less than a tenth of what the normal American uses in a day. Taking a shower was interesting and cold. Of course, what we didn't think about is not having the luxury of warm water flowing from our faucets. So back to basics we went, heating a few gallons at a time in the most massive pot we could find. Maya, my daughter, got the fresh water. We cleaned her first in a small tub. Her leftovers, or what is called gray water, we dumped into Tara's bath. We added a bit more heated clean water so she could bathe. 2 inches of standing water isn't what we consider relaxing. And forget about who's trying to wash your hair. Tara says dry shampoo is the best way to go. But her mom, who's still living through the drought in Cape Town, says it's impossible to find it in South Africa because everyone has had this idea. Some are even turning to dreadlocks for the foreseeable future. Taking a bath had become a team sport. As the water cooled quickly in the tub, my wife kindly brought me the reminder of the remainder of the stovetop water. I lathered up as fast as possible with small amounts of soap and called it good. The sponge bath wasn't by any stretch my standard TV-ready clean. There are so many things we take for granted, like the constant availability of hot water, that and flushing a toilet. After watching Cape Townians on social media, we learned that clean water isn't necessary to flush a toilet. Following their example, we grabbed a bucket, dipped it in the leftover bath water, and deposited it into the empty cistern of our toilet. One of the most abundant uses of household water is from flushing the toilet. We chose to designate our toilets for two very different bodily functions. We were adamant to abide by the if it's yellow, let it mellow, if it's brown, flush it down method. You'd be surprised how much water you can save, and this is very real. Brushing our teeth was no different from the times my father would take me camping in the wilderness, 1 cup of water to wet my toothbrush and the rest to wash out my mouth once I finished. We often had excess water from brushing our teeth, which we used for the cat's drinking bowl. Shaving required plugging up the sink and rinsing my razor in the allocated water, not a huge sacrifice, but definitely a change from what I'm used to. Alternatively, washing my clothes forced me to alter my habits. Ordinarily, I would save up a week's dirty laundry and just throw it in the machine to get clean. Not today. I have never before done laundry by hand, but what other option did we have? We took 2 buckets, one for the water with cleaning detergent and another for rinsing. Washing our clothes was by far the most significant use of our allocated water. We managed to blow through 6 gallons just with that. And we cleaned only our daily use of clothes. We didn't even wash the other things you would typically, like bed linens, towels, or the baby messes that surprise us on any given day. We did find it was easier to cook on a ration of water than I had anticipated. Since we planned out our menu, we were able to stick to meals that required little water. However, cleaning up was challenging. Each side of our sink was stoppered. One side we used for dirty, soapy water, the other we used for rinsing purposes. And as we worked our way through the day and ultimately our meals, we noticed the rinse water became unusable. So we replaced it a few times to keep things fresh. Another trick we learned from our friends and family in Cape Town is to use paper plates when possible, and if you need to clean dishes, wipe any excess food off before washing them. Negatory on the paper plates. At the end of an exhausting day, my family of 3 plus our cat had managed to use less than the allotted 75 liters left, leaving roughly 3 liters of excess water. That's all due to the diligence of Tara, who kept a spreadsheet on how much water we could use for our daily routines. It was about 4 p.m. when she realized that without Maya's allocation, we would have already run out of our individual distributions of water. It just happens that a 1-year-old has a smaller water footprint than the allocation provides. Wow. This is a challenging exercise, and I don't wish it on any of my friends and family in Cape Town, but when you are forced to shut off your tap, we feel like 25 liters per day is doable, and we could adapt to fit the rationing into our lifestyle. There was also the realization that living with water restrictions for 24 hours is nowhere close to the realities of doing it for weeks or months on end, and doing so could have compounding effect on our stress levels. To really understand the effects of these restrictions on our family, we would have to be part of the water rationing for a more extended period. 25 liters a day is possible, but not ideal. The hope is that day 0 will continue to get pushed back and that the rainy season will come soon. But the truth is that even if it doesn't happen this year, climatologists say it will happen. Maybe not in Cape Town, but day 0 is likely to occur in a major city in our lifetime. How about multiple major cities? Real effing soon. How about instead of living on this many liters a day, instead of living on 6 gallons a day, instead of living on 80 to 100 gallons a day, which Americans do, how about you try 30? It seems like a lot of water, 30 gallons of water, and yet you would only be using a third of what most Americans use. Try that. I mean, just try that. That's, why not? There you go. There's an exercise for you. Don't go all the way, you don't have to go all the way to like no water, but use a third of your water. Consciously cut out 2/3 of your water use. It's totally doable. I believe I had one more. Oh, yes. I did want to read this, and then I think I will call it a night. This is more news that we've already heard over and over again. February 21st from Truth Out, plastics found in majority of deep water Atlantic fish, posing potential threat to human health. Nearly 3/4 of deep sea fish collected from the northern Atlantic Ocean by an Irish research team were found to have tiny particles of plastic in their guts, suggesting that human-made plastic pollution is penetrating deeper into marine ecosystems than previously thought. According to a report published Monday, scientists at the National University of Ireland connected 233 fish specimens from a warm circular current in the northwest Atlantic known as the Warm Core Eddy, and found that 73% had digested tiny plastic particles called microplastics. These are pieces of plastic less than 5 millimeters long or smaller than a sesame seed. They come from synthetic clothing, skin cleansers containing microbeads, and larger pieces of plastic bags, bottles, and other debris that slowly break down in the environment. Warm core eddies are known to accumulate plastic pollution, which may explain why the team found one of the highest rates of microplastic contamination ever recorded in fish. Plastics are the most prevalent type of pollution found in the world's oceans, as well as the Great Lakes in the United States, according to the U.S. National Ocean and Atmospheric Association. The Irish researchers crossed the Atlantic in a research vessel and collected several species of deep water fish with large fishing nets from a depth of about 600 meters or about 2,000 feet below the surface. The specimens were brought back to labs in Galway, Ireland, where the researchers inspected the stomach contents for microplastics. The most common contaminants were tiny plastic fibers colored blue or black. One spotted lanternfish measuring less than 2 inches in length was found to have 13 microplastic bits in its stomach, according to a press release. Indeed, it's worrying to think that our daily activities, such as washing our synthetic clothes in a washing machine, result in billions of microplastics entering our oceans through our wastewater stream that may eventually end up in the deep sea, in these deep sea fishes, report co-author Tom Doyle said in a statement. There's an Irish name, Tom Doyle. Previous studies have shown plankton, worms, and small fish ingest microplastics, which can cause internal physical damage to their digestive systems. According to the report, since animals do not easily digest plastics, microplastic pollution can be passed on from prey to predator through the food chain. Oh, I believe it's raining. I was like, what's that noise? Microplastics, along with the toxic additives to plastic products such as colorants and flame retardants, could even contaminate larger fish species such as swordfish and tuna that are consumed by humans, making them a potential threat to human health, according to the report. While there is clearly a concern that the ingestion of microplastics with associated toxins may have harmful effects on these fishes, or even the fishes that feed on them, a study highlights that these seemingly remote fishes located thousands of kilometers from land and 600 meters down in our ocean are not isolated from our pollution, Doyle said. After decades of litter and trash dumping, human-made plastic pollution has been found in some of the most isolated marine environments in the world, including ice floes in the central Arctic Ocean, only 1,000 miles from the North Pole. Plastic tends to be less dense than water and float on the surface, but the Irish study suggests that microplastics can penetrate deep into the ocean as they make their way through the food chain. Deep water fish migrate to the surface at night to feed on plankton, and this is likely when they are exposed to the microplastics, said Alina Wojorek, the lead author of the study. A good story. The U.S. and several European countries have banned the use of microbeads in cosmetic products, but throwaway plastic products remain ubiquitous across the globe. Meanwhile, the petroleum industry is increasingly looking to plastic production to maintain demand for oil. As certain countries promote cleaner alternatives to climate-disrupting fossil fuels. Dang it, we've got to use up these fossil fuels somehow. That means more plastics. Son, have you ever looked into plastics? If current consumption trends continue, the plastics industry would consume 20% of petroleum produced on Earth by 2050, according to a 2016 report published by the World Economic Forum. By then, the amount of plastic in the world's oceans would outweigh the entire mass of fish still living in them. All righty. That's alarming. And seems to be getting worse, this problem. It ain't getting better. And if it is, it's possibly isolated, tiny pockets of getting better. I don't know where it's getting better. Maybe I'll try and scare up some positive news one of these days, but the positive is so overwhelmed, outweighed, outmatched, outnumbered by the negative impacts and stories that we are seeing and hearing and creating for ourselves. I don't know that the positivity is anything to be really happy about, but you know, we can try it. One can try. That's all I have for y'all tonight. I want to thank you as always for your eyes and your ears and your conscience. I hope to be back tomorrow with another video. Until next time, peace.